Thank you, Dennis and Ken. Good morning.
Good morning.
Did most of you sleep last night? How many of you remember your dreams?
Last night?
A lot of you did. How many of you had nightmares last night? No one wants to show. Well, did you know that if you sleep 8 hours a day, that's a third of a day? And what that means, if you do the math, I'm just picking a random age, but it means if you're 60 years old, you have been sleeping for 20 years. Now, if you've been sleeping for 20 years, I wouldn't think that's a waste of time. And one of the things that we do during that time is we dream. So I've been doing dream work for about 25 years. I studied dream work in my doctoral studies with Dr. Jeremy Taylor. He's written this book and many others. This is called The Wisdom of Your Dreams. And I've even written a little book on dreams called The Dream Life of Jesus, which Jeremy, my former teacher, endorsed. And then I've led dream groups here in Auburn. Since I've been in Auburn, I have led dream groups for 11 years here. And we usually meet once a month in our home, and you'll get to know why in a while. When I first came, when Mark and Karen first came to Auburn, at that time, I was here before them. And before they had come, I was part of a ministerial association that here in town. And that group was kind of the mainline churches: Lutheran, Presbyterian, Methodist, the Catholic Church, and Episcopal, and the Congregational Church. And I thought, I had met Mark and Karen, I thought, I would like to invite them to the ministerial meeting. So I brought them along with me. We meet at the Sisters of Mercy Center and have lunch there and just talk about ministerial kind of things. And so I brought them there and we had our meeting, and they left, and I had stayed after they left, and the other men, because they were all men, said, please don't bring them back again, because they're not really Christians. And so at that point, you know what I did? Mark and Karen and I, plus the minister at that time was the Church of Religious Science up at DeWitt, and then the Unitarian minister, we formed our own ministerial association and met once a month. So anyway, when I left the Congregational Church, I had already had a long friendship with Mark and Karen, and so as Cindy mentioned, I've been doing this Spirit Wind program for 25 years at 3 different churches, and Mark and Karen knew about it because they had spoken at Spirit Wind when it was at the Congregational Church. So as soon as they knew that I had retired, Abe and I came over here to visit, and they said, would you do Spirit Wind here? And so I've been doing that for the last few years. Over the years, mainline ministers of the kind mentioned before have said, what are you wasting your time with this dream stuff? It's all new age. It's all new agey. And I said, no, it's not new agey. Do you know your Bibles? Because in the book of Genesis, chapter 37 and 40, we learn about Joseph, the son of Jacob, who not only had dreams, but interpreted dreams. And then another thing I told them, read the first 2 chapters of Matthew. Because first, when Joseph is going to dump Mary because she got pregnant, and it says an angel came to him in a dream and told him not to do that. And when the wise men came, Herod told them to seek out the child so we can bless him. And the angel of the Lord came to them in a dream and told them, do not go back to Herod, because he would have killed him. And then after that, we read that Joseph is told in a dream to go to Egypt and stay there because Herod was killing all the children. So much for the Bible. It's just something I use for those people. But what's interesting is, look at this. This is in the Quran. God takes away the souls of the living during their sleep. Isn't that interesting? The Talmud, which is a commentary that was written, a Jewish commentary, says a dream not interpreted is like a letter unopened from God. Then Sigmund Freud, dreams are the royal road to the unconscious. And in 1900, Freud wrote his book, The Interpretation of Dreams, which kicked everything off. And then finally, from my teacher, all dreams speak in the language of symbols and come in the service of health and wholeness. So what I'm going to do, I can't see the clock really good.
You got plenty of time.
20.
Oh,
20 minutes.
okay, someone put their hand up when it's 10 till.
Just finish up before the Super Bowl starts.
Yeah.
You got plenty.
So I'm going to tell you what we do in a dream group. I have found I do individual dream work with people as a dream therapist, but I prefer to work in groups, and I'm going to show you a number of reasons. The last quote up there by Jeremy Taylor says that all dreams speak a universal language, which is in symbols, and they come in the service of health and wholeness. Now you notice that? All dreams. That means even nightmares. They all come in the service of health and wholeness. Just to give one example of a nightmare, I had a woman at a church I served down in Ontario, California, came to me horrified one morning and said she had a dream that she had stabbed her mother to death. Well, in dream work, we call what's happening at that moment, it's called the danger of mistaken literalism. Because what that means is dreams speak a language of symbols, which means you do not interpret them literally. And that's what the woman had done. So I said to her, perhaps what the dream might be suggesting is maybe it's time to cut ties with your mother, or any number of things that mean her moving on, being her own person, and that. And when I suggested those ideas, the woman became very calm and felt, at ease finally. So anyway, and the reason why we have nightmares oftentimes is one thing you'll notice about nightmares. You can have a ton of regular dreams and wake up and forget them. But if you have a nightmare, I guarantee you remember it. And the reason for that is it's the subconscious's way of grabbing our attention, saying this is something you need to look at. Okay. The next thing, we have a number of rules we follow in our dream groups, and I'm going to go through those. When we work in a dream group, usually what happens is everybody brings a dream they've had over the last month or two, because we meet once a month. Then what we do is we, person by person, shares the dream, and the rest of the group works on it with them. But the thing is, only the dreamer can say with any certainty what the meaning of his or her dream is. So what happens is, I don't know, people throw out their dream, other people are saying, well, I think it might be this or that or the other thing. Sometimes there's a click by something someone has said. We call that the aha moment, where it rings true, that interpretation rings true. But sometimes there's not. But regardless of whether it comes from another person or not, only the dreamer in the end knows the true meaning. And that aha moment is that recognition of the meaning. Another principle is that there is no such thing as a dream with only one meaning. And that's because dreams hit us in a number of areas in our life at the same time. One dream could be talking about, say for instance, your relationship with your spouse, but at another level it might be talking about your relation that you've had with your parents and other things. And so you have to go deep to see what those things are saying. Then another principle is that no dream comes to tell you what you already know. Dreams are always breaking new ground. Now it's true that you could have a number of dreams that are the same. I don't know how many of you have had recurring dreams. Now it would seem that those dreams are saying the same thing. But again, the principle is that no dreams come to tell you what you already know. And so the reason why you have recurring dreams is it's saying you're not getting it. You're not getting it. How many times do I got to say this? And yeah. And another thing recurring dreams can mean is here we are again, back in the same place I was before. You know what I'm saying? Then in dream groups, we always practice this certain practice. And it is when we're talking in the group, we always preface anything we say when we're interpreting another person's dream with, if it were my dream. See, because what happens is if you don't do that, sometimes the interpreter can sound accusatory. Like, for instance, I think your dream means this. You know what I'm saying? Like you're judging what their dream means. And so instead we say, well, if it were my dream, this is what it would mean to me. And then they can see if what it would mean to you gives an aha for them. The other reason is, and this is very strange, but when a person shares their dream, immediately you have your imagined version of that dream. You know what I mean? It's like in guided meditations. Someone could be doing a guided meditation where they say, picture yourself in the most pristine place that gives you calm and peace. As soon as I say that, everyone's going to be thinking of something different. Some could be on a mountaintop or in the forest, or some in a lush field or at the ocean. You see what I mean? So as soon as that person tells you your dream, you have your own imagined version of it. And you can't go forward with interpreting it until you say, if it were my dream, this is what it would mean to me. And then at that point, the person can say, no, that's not it. I was over here, you know, or whatever. And then the final point is that in our work in dream groups, we always, we don't observe confidentiality in the group, but we do have anonymity. Now you know what the difference is? Confidentiality is what is spoken about here never can leave this circle. Okay? On the other hand, anonymity means you can talk about a dream, like I've done it many times, talked about someone else's dream, but I don't say who the person was or anything, because like I just told you about the woman that had the dream of stabbing her mother to death, and how I resolved that. If that had been in confidence, I couldn't have told that story. So, so we always just have anonymity rather than confidentiality, and that way we can share what we learn other places. And with that, I got still 3 minutes. And now, it's time to give of our abundance in the form of a love offering. We see these symbols we see these offerings as symbols of divine love that flow into us and through us. Please take your tithes and love offerings in your hands as we affirm this truth. God is my source, I give and receive in love.